Welcome into a new hour of CBS Sports HQ. Amanda Guerra here with you. Moving on to Week 13 in the NFL. Cowboys looking to right the ship after they dropped 3 of their past 4. They are heading to New Orleans as the favorite, but the Saints may take the field with a new starting quarterback.
Week 13 of the NFL touches down to the Big Easy with the New Orleans Saints hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Thanksgiving Day at home was supposed to be a get-right spot for America's team, but after dropping a penalty-riddled overtime game to the Raiders, the Cowboys have now lost 3 out of 4 and are looking to regain the chemistry they had the first 2 months of the season.
One way or another, we've got to be better. We've got to be disciplined, focus on controlling what we can control.
As for the Saints, they haven't been the same team after losing Jameis Winston to a season-ending injury back in Week 8. They now lost 4 straight, and it's likely now or never if they have a shot of returning to the playoffs for a 5th consecutive season.
Obviously, we've got to look closely at everything we're doing and who we're doing it with. It's not like new players are going to come walking through the hallway.
Is this the week the Saints finally get back in the win column, or will the Cowboys take another step closer towards locking up the NFC East? Week 13 is about to get underway.
And welcome in, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Here, Pete Prisco, Brady Quinn, Amanda Guerra with you. Taking place at Chris Hassel this week. Thank you so much. Week 13 here. We're going to take a look back at Week 12. Brady Quinn, congratulations, my friend. You had a winning week.
It's about time.
The first time since Week 8 you had a winning week there. How do you feel?
I feel fine. I mean, I'm still looking for a better week. I was actually a little better on my over-unders. I was 10-5 last week, so feeling good about that.
No documentation on those.
Jack has the documentation.
I don't think he does.
He does.
Bad week for me. Losing week.
I don't care about your picks. I really don't.
You should.
I'm trying to go perfect one of these weeks. It's going to happen. I'm telling you, one of these weeks, it's going to go. I'm going to go perfect.
For you, friend.
I know. But I mean, I'm looking for that perfect
seriously,
week.
it's like a guy who got a C after getting all Fs. What are we celebrating that for?
It looks like your report card, not mine.
My report card's now F.
I didn't ask for this. Maybe I'm just a fan of the people. You know, maybe they wanted this. They wanted me to win because you just go out touting yourself so much.
I didn't
never
tout
wrong
myself at all.
You got your spinning top thing you do and all that.
I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. You've been wrong before. You just can't never admit it.
All right.
We'll see how you guys do this week. So let's take a look ahead. Thursday Night Football, let's start with that. Cowboys at Saints. It looks like we're going to have Taysom Hill taking the field for the Saints, taking first-team reps there. The Cowboys, Mike McCarthy is out dealing with COVID. Dan Quinn will be taking over. Pete, what do you think about this game?
When was the last time you took a snap?
Stop.
It's been 5 years? Okay. I'll take you over him right now.
They've got a Notre Dame quarterback there right now.
They should play him.
Should be playing. Ian Book should be playing.
I agree.
Draft him in the 4th round. I have no idea why they're doing this experiment.
I'm giving you a compliment. I'm saying I would take your throw the football right
care.
now over him.
The truth of the matter is, in all seriousness, Sean Payton and their staff need to find out what they have in Ian Book before they go into this offseason. Because you got Jameis Winston coming off a season-ending injury. You know what you have in Taysom Hill. Why are you moving on past that? So I'm sitting there looking at this saying to myself, play Ian Book, see if he can help you generate some sort of offense because they've really struggled, in particular last week versus the Buffalo Bills. It makes all the sense in the world to me, even though I do think Taysom Hill for a game might be difficult for the Dallas Cowboys to prepare for, especially considering the situation with the coaching staff.
Look, I'm with you. I think I'd play Book too. Find out what he is. He looked good preseason. He did some really good things. When I was there in practice, he looked good. He looked like he understood what he was supposed to do.
And you still have Taysom as the changeup guy.
I agree.
I don't get it.
That's what I would do. Trevor Siemian can't play at all.
No.
He's done. He's
okay,
finished.
is this sheet wrong then? Because I'm looking at it, and I feel like you're making a pick that doesn't make any sense with what you're saying.
It doesn't make any sense, but the Cowboys don't make any sense. They're not playing very well, and I'm worried about their defense as much as anything. They were bad against the Raiders. They couldn't stop
13, 14 penalties, 166 yards.
Well, they were sloppy too, and now they don't have their head coach. And they're alternating offensive linemen, and I know Steele's out now, so you won't have to do that at right tackle. I don't think they're that good right now, and so I think the Saints, desperate, will hang around. I don't think they're going to win the game, but I think they hang around.
It's a 4.5-point spread. You know, usually that's a little much for if you feel like these teams are pretty close. I don't know. I don't feel confident whatsoever in the Saints offense right now. Until they put Ian in there, I'm not going to pick them. I'm not going to be on the Taysom Hill bandwagon here. I'm rolling with Dak Prescott. I think they're going to lay the 4.5. They're going to cover that spread until we see some sort of change-up and give Ian a chance.
Quarterback scales, though. It's like
so why are you picking the Saints?
Because I just think the defense is going to play well. And
you buy into Sean Payton and the fact that Mike McCarthy probably is not going to be there.
That has something to do with it. That has something to do with it.
We'll see what happens.
I mean, coaches matter in this league, I think.
100%. I'm just saying, like, that's why you're picking what you're picking.
No,
There's no justification otherwise.
Taysom Hill, I'm a believer now.
Yeah, by the way, your Kirk Cousins prediction last week, that did not work out well.
Didn't work out well either, no.
Switched real fast there on Taysom Hill from the beginning of that to the very end of that, I know. We get the Bucs at the Falcons there. The Bucs back to their winning ways. They've won 2 in a row now. We get playoff Lenny looking like playoff Lenny in the regular season. 4 touchdowns here. Bucs heavy favorite. 11. The total here is 50 and a hook. Brady, what's your play?
Well, I hate the fact that it's a double-digit point spread for a divisional matchup. And as bad as the Falcons has looked, I'm a little concerned by this. I think the better play in this game is the over. I think there'll be a good amount of scoring from both sides in this one, given how the secondary has played at times this year for the Tampa Bay Bucks, and the fact that the Atlanta Falcons defense isn't very good. So the over to me is the better play. I'm going to bet on the side of the Tampa Bay Bucks, though. I think they're starting to get some things going again. They got Leonard Fournette going versus the Colts last week. And I think you're going to start to see them ascend as we move forward. So I'll lay the 11 points, but the over to me is the better play.
I like the over as well. I didn't put it down there, but I do. But I also like the Bucks. And the reason I like the Bucks is because I think the offensive line will get just demolished in that game. And Matt Ryan's taking a ton of hits. He's going to take a ton in this game. They're going to lead the turnovers. And on the other side, I think Tom Brady and that offense will do what they want to do. I mean, other than Grady Jarrett, they don't really pressure the quarterback, and I think Brady's going to stand back there and pick them apart. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, but I think in the end, I think Tom Brady and the Bucs will cover that number, so I'll take Tampa Bay.
Late in the season, the Falcons aren't out of it. I feel a little worried that there's going to be that backdoor cover with the way Matt Ryan can get hot.
It says Buccaneers on the paper here.
I know. I'm just saying that's why I like the over better. I think it's a higher scoring game.
I like the over too, but I like the Bucs better than the over.
Okay.
Not like you.
I'm on the opposite side of this one. I think we're going to be texting each other and we're going to get burnt by this. And Matty Ice is going to end up heating up in the fourth quarter.
He'll hit Pitts for 25-yard touchdown, and we'll lose the back door.
We get Cardinals at Bears this week. Of course, the Cardinals coming off their bye. Cliff Kingsbury won't say officially that Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins are back, but it looks like they're going to be back. He is probably not considering the OU job. Says he's focused on the Bears. Cardinals favored by 7.5. The total here, 45 and a hook. Pete.
I'm going to take the Bears. And look, we don't know who's playing quarterback for the Bears. I think it's going to be Dalton. It looks.
Does that matter that much to you?
It does. I think he's ready to play quarterback where Fields is ready and should be playing. I'm not taking anything away from him. I think he should be playing, but I think Andy Dalton gives him a better chance to win. He throws the ball better. He's a better passer. Justin Fields struggles to throw the football, Brady. You know that. You could do some things with him and get creative with him, but I think you need to have a quarterback who can throw the football. So for that reason, I'm going to take Andy Dalton because I think he's going to be playing. I don't think he's coming back from that rib injury. Why rush him back? Why risk anything further? And so I take the Bears. I think they keep it close. Arizona will win the game, but I think Bears keep it close.
Well, one thing we both like is the under. I think this will be a lower scoring game. I hate the hook here, the 7.5, but I'm going to go ahead and lay them because I am anticipating Kyler Murray coming back. The Bears defense is not what it once was. I do think there could be some rust from Kyler Murray, but for the most part, this is a very tough offense to be able to stop with all the different options that they have in the backfield, a wide receiver, and then obviously Kyler Murray escaping and taking off. So that's where they're going to have the distinct advantage. I do wonder this. I mean, there's the elements. We're way too early in the week to understand what the weather's going to be like. That could be the ultimate equalizer. And then also, all the talk around Matt Nagy. All that was, alleviated, I guess you could say, after the Thanksgiving, Day game. They get the win. All that stuff's kind of hushed down. I wonder if now they're going to be a little bit more centered and focused on the game at hand and not worrying so much about Matt Nagy's job security moving forward. So that is a concern. I like the under again in this one better than I do the spread, but if I have to lay them, I'll lay the 7.5 points. If you could, I'd buy it down to at least 7.
By the way, Sunday, showers, 46 and 28.
See, that sounds like one of those sloppy, ugly games that leads to low scoring. That's why I like that. But again, where maybe the Chicago Bears start to hang around within that number.
Matt Nagy hasn't saved his job. Let's forget that.
I'm not saying he saved his job, but you don't hear as much talk about that right now. Now, maybe that's because
he went and beat the Lions?
Well, no, but maybe, and it was a while ago now, right? They have a little extra time to prepare for this. But maybe it's also because Cliff Kingsbury is answering questions about whether or not he's going to be the next head coach at Oklahoma or Notre Dame or wherever else. That's where we're at with this whole NFL coaching cycle is college coaches are getting paid so much that now NFL coaches are using it as leverage for their conversations with those teams and having their agents kind of, throw those things out there for them, whether they're realistic or not.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
About Cliff Kingsbury? Mm-hmm. I think he's going to use it as leverage. Smart man.
Oh, he's making a lot of money for other coaches right now. All right, let's look at the Giants and Dolphins here. The Dolphins started their season 1-7. They've won their past 4. What about that? They're favored by 3 in this one, and you like them here to cover.
I do like them here to cover, and I watched them on tape, and I was really impressed with what they did on defense to Carolina. Now, Carolina's bad on the offensive line as well later. We'll find out a little bit later, but they did some creative stuff. I think the last month of the season, the Dolphins have been so creative on defense, and their young players are getting better. Jalen Phillips is getting better. He's attacking the quarterback. They've become good on defense. And Tua deserves the credit. Look, I've been a Tua critic. I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't been. But I've seen growth from him. He's getting better. He's much more aware of how to find the receivers down the field and drive the ball. He's improved a great deal. His offensive line still isn't good. They're still not great on offense. Getting the ball to Waddle makes sense. But I think this is the play. I think their defensive line will dominate Daniel Jones in this game.
This is a bad combination when you've got a defense led by Brian Flores and the job he does scheming things up, but also getting so many turnovers, so much pressure on a quarterback in Daniel Jones who turns the football over a lot. I mean, that's been the biggest flaw with him. So there's something about this game, though, that's off to me. And I don't know why. I really thought the Dolphins, the way they played the last 4 games, would be actually maybe a 4.5, 5-point favorite in this one, something closer to that. The 3 points are a little bit iffy, and it almost makes me feel like maybe this one's going to be closer than people think. And so I'm going to take the 3 points and the Giants here. I mean, you know how it is here in South Florida. There will be more Giant fans in the stadium than there are Dolphins fans. It's going to feel like a Giants home game.
Like back in the day, I probably would have went to that game when I was a kid. Well, as a Giants fan.
And I'm surprised you might, don't go to this one and don't bring back some of those childhood memories. But I'm just telling you right now, this was fishy to me. And I'm kind of swerving the other way, taking the 3 points in the Giants, even though I do feel like it's a bad matchup. You talked about Tua. As much as it's about his growth, I also think it's about the wide receivers and other pieces around him growing. Jalen Waddle's starting to get a little more comfortable, too, in some of those pieces. The addition of Phillip Lindsay, that's benefited their backfield as well. So I understand the smart play here is probably to go with the Dolphins, but with the year I have, I got to differentiate a little bit from you. I'm going with the Giants.
This was a tough pick for me, too. It's a hard pick, but I just think their defensive line will dominate the Giants' offensive line. I really do. And I think that'll be the difference of the game.
Was there anything about the number that was fishy to you, or you're okay with the 3?
Yeah, I mean, it looks fishy. It definitely looks fishy. 3 is fishy.
The Dolphins have been playing better football of late. They should be favored by a little bit more than this.
The Giants played well last week, though.
Last week. Yeah. not as consistently as the Dolphins have.
No.
All right, recapping their picks. A fair amount of disagreement in this first batch of games there. Cowboys and Saints are on the opposite sides of that. Bucks at Falcons, they both like the Bucks to cover there. Brady says the over is the better play in that game, though. Cardinals at Bears, opposite sides again with the teams, but they both like the under. And Brady says there's something a little fishy about that line with the Dolphins favored by 3 at home. Going with the Giants, Pete on the side of the Dolphins. Coming up, we'll continue to get Week 13 picks, including Chargers at Bengals. Couple top draft picks in 2020. Justin Herbert going up against Joe Burrow. We'll have picks for that next. Welcome back into CBS Sports HQ, presented by Caesars Sportsbook here, getting you ready for Week 13, taking a look at some of the early afternoon games there on CBS to get Chargers at Bengals. So Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, going up against one another for the first time in the NFL. Those teams actually met in Week 1 of last season. Justin Herbert didn't make his debut until Week 2. There we'll also see how the Vikings will do, likely without Dalvin Cook. It is time for Pete Prisco's Spinning Top of the Week, only I am not here to introduce it.
That was not what I thought.
Pete Prisco's Spinning Top of the Week.
I didn't want to sing it, so we just made sure we had Christopher.
It's like the voice from above. Where is he? I feel like he's watching us or something.
I don't know.
He's looking down on us.
He is. He's looking down on us.
It's much like the voice out of Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
Very fitting for the Iowa. Who knows? It's the voice of Chris Hassel here. So I introduced it, and you were going with what, Pete?
The Carolina Panthers offensive line.
All of it.
And I wanted to single out somebody, but my gosh, the entire group was awful. They are so bad. Cam Newton was terrible too, but take a look at some of this, Brady. It's just on and on, wherever you want to go. And I know there's a Notre Dame guy in there, so you don't want to blast him any. The center, Pat Alfly, he's not very good.
He's not a Notre Dame. He's an Ohio State guy.
That's right, Ohio State guy. But look at this. Look at these guys. That's Jalen Phillips has become a good player, so he slides inside. Here's the rookie Christensen not picking up a stun as they slide inside. It's just on and on and on every play. And even in plays where he's completing passes, he's getting blasted. Here's Elflein's too. I mean, this is just, come on. You got to be better than that.
I think the difficulty, too, for the Panthers was they put themselves in a lot of those third and long situations in must passing downs where it really plays in the hand of the Dolphins. So you're seeing a mixture of fronts, you're seeing a mixture of pressures, all things, that's the last thing you want to do. You'd like to stay with them 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5, somewhere closer to it where you may have the element of a run involved in there, and you can't allow the defense just to tee off on you and throw a kitchen sink.
I mean, that's Taylor Moton got beat.
He got beat bad.
And
well, he struggles versus speed.
And he's a pretty good player. Yeah, he's a pretty good player. So just to name them across the board so we don't leave anybody out.
Yeah.
Taylor Moton, Dennis Daly, Trent Scott, Pat Elflein, and Michael Jordan were the starters, and Brady Christensen went in for Michael Jordan when he got banged up a little bit, and he was just as bad.
Yeah.
Across the board.
A rookie, but yeah.
Terrible. It's a terrible group. They need to fix their offensive line, or it won't matter who plays quarterback. And you mentioned Joe Brady. Look, he was the shining star in this league about a month ago, or early
2 months
ago.
Yeah.
And now look at him.
When Christian McCaffrey, who is now going to be out for the season with the ankle injury, I'm not sure it's necessarily warranted given the injury itself, but there's probably no point in putting him behind that offensive line, at least the way they played this past week.
Can I get a message out?
Yes, you may.
Don't pay running backs. Don't draft them in the first round. Again, let me say it over and over again. Don't pay them. Don't draft them in the first round.
I believe in one of your mock drafts last season, you did put a running back in the first round.
Because I figured somebody would take one. I wouldn't take one.
Okay.
I'm not taking a running back.
Who was it? Was it Najee Harris?
I think it was, yeah.
I think so. All right.
Still wouldn't take them.
Let's go on to some more picks there. Got out of that without singing. Thank you so much. You guys at home are welcome too. Chargers at Bengals here. Bengals coming off pretty good back-to-back wins there, of course, against the Steelers. They are favored by 3 at home, the total 50.5. And we're jumping right into it because you guys agree on one thing, but you're on opposite sides with the teams. Brady?
Yeah, we both think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Like two of the brightest star young quarterbacks in this matchup. I think the thing I loved about watching the Bengals last week was they looked like a version of the Pittsburgh Steelers earlier in Ben Roethlisberger's career. Like the big plays down the field, the running football with Joe Mixon, that physicality at the line of scrimmage, that's what they kind of reminded me of. And I was watching going, this used to be the Steelers, now it's the Bengals. So kind of interesting twist on all this. But here's why I'm on the other side for the Chargers here. If you've watched their season, they're up, they're down. They're up, they're down. They're up, they're down.
Season every year with the Chargers.
Okay, but I'm saying this season in particular with Justin Herbert as their starting quarterback coming into it, that's how it's been. They're up, they're down. Last week, they're down. Absolutely looked awful. I mean, credit, obviously, the way the Denver Broncos defense played. Pat Surtain in particular got the best of Justin Herbert a couple of times. But the reality is this. This week, they'll be back up again. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, but a close game. And I think Joe Lombardi starts to open up some things to be able to let Justin Herbert play. You've been saying that all year. I agree with you. I think this is the game they have to do it because of what they're going up against in Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'll take the 3 points, but the over is the better play in my mind.
I like the over as well. I put that down as one of my picks too, but I think it's the other team. I think it's the Bengals. I think the Bengals are, as a young team, and we've seen this in this league, and you've probably been around some of these teams, but where a young group starts believing in themselves.
Right.
And everybody starts playing better, and they start gaining confidence. I think that's what we're getting with the Bengals. You know, I said 2-10. You said I said 2-10. I said 1-10, that they would win one Super Bowl in 10 years, and I'm sticking by that. I still believe that. I think Joe Burrow's.
You said multiple.
You said multiple.
I don't know. We'll have to get the tape out.
We'll
have to get the tape out one of these days. Everybody.
I'm going to back Brady on that one.
But he's going to win one. I really believe that. Not this year, but this is a good football team, and they're getting better. I'm concerned about the Chargers. I watched because their line was one of those that was in consideration. A couple of those players.
Very top.
Yes, and so I watched them this morning, and I looked at them and I studied them hard. They didn't get open last week. Nobody got open. I mean, Keenan Allen didn't get open. Mike Williams didn't get open, and Justin Herbert looks a little bit off when he gets a little bit of that pressure. He gets out of there quickly, and so I'm concerned about them. And I don't like the design of the offense. I've said it over and over again. If they set them free, like you think they will, then I really believe it'll be a closer game. I'm worried about them, though.
What's their chance of winning this game?
They got to score.
They have to score. They're going to have to throw the football down the field.
About my concern with the over, though, a little bit, Amanda, is this.
Weather?
They give up so many rushing yards on the ground. Will the Bengals just pound Joe Mixon in the middle of the line? So that's all.
He's had a great year, and no one's really talking about it.
It really is.
You know, it hasn't been the Jonathan Taylor type year, but it's right up there.
I'm going to take the agreement there because you guys don't agree on a lot in this one. Colts and Texans. Let's go to the next game there. Colts are favored by 8.5 on the road. So Tampa Bay, of course, did a better job of containing Jonathan Taylor. Not sure we're going to see the same against the Texans here. Pete, what's your play in this game?
Yeah, I like the Colts. I don't think that they got away from who they were a little bit last week. And you have to against Tampa Bay because Vita Vea stands in there in the middle, and it's hard to run on them. And so they got a little bit, but they did run on late. And run on
the lead, though.
I know.
I mean, they had the lead, and they got away from running the football.
Was it 20-something straight plays that they threw the football? That they can't do. If you have Jonathan Taylor in your backfield, you have to give him the football.
And that was the whole reason
especially when you're leading. Like, you would have shortened the game versus Tom Brady, not give him more chances.
And they tied the game by running it late.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they did get away from it. They'll get back to it. And the Texans aren't a very good team. Look, they lost to the Jets last week at home. This Colts team will go in there and handle them. I like the Colts minus the points.
I thought what you saw, though, from Frank Reich in regards to Carson Wentz and in that matchup was they were going to air it out. They're going to let Carson Wentz air it out. He made some nice throws, nice plays down the field. It maybe wasn't the game plan that they should have had in the second half of the way things ended up working out for them, letting Tampa Bay come back and ultimately win that game. But I do think that was like a confidence builder for him. Regardless of what you want to say about this team right now where they're at, offensively we both agree. They hang their hat on Jonathan Taylor in the run game. At some point, Carson Wentz is going to have to win this football game. So that, to me, even though it wasn't a win, it still was a step in the right direction of showcasing, hey, he can make some of these deep throws. He can make some of these big splash plays versus one of the better teams in the NFC in the Tampa Bay Bucs. So, look, I'm going to lay the 8.5 points. I kind of hate that number. It's just an awkward number. But I didn't see much from the Houston Texans last week that makes me optimistic they're going to be able to put up many points in this one. So I think the Colts win. They probably end up winning by 10, but it's going to be close to that number.
We agree. You're happy about that, right?
I mean, if you disagree, it's better for people at home. We like seeing you fight, which is a lot of fun. Unfortunately, not so much in this next one. Vikings at the winless Lions. So here's the thing with Dalvin Cook. First, it was a torn labrum. He's out for a couple weeks. And it's not a torn labrum, and now he's day-to-day. Either way, don't think we're going to see him in this game. Brady, how's this game going to go?
I don't know. Put that shoulder harness. Put that shoulder harness thing on, and then let him go in there and play.
I'd hit him on the shoulder the very first play.
Look, and be honest with you, teams will talk about that. If he suits up, you better believe they're going to test it. They're going to see how healthy that shoulder is. It's not dirty. It's just nature of the business you're in. I've talked for a long time about not picking the Lions the rest of the season. I'm not picking them here, all right? I'm going to lay the 7 points. I'm on the side of the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins didn't look great last week, but I do think he'll be able to take advantage of a Lions defense that's just been – I don't even know how to describe them this year. I don't have high expectations. I understand the Lions covered last week. That was one of your wins. I'm not betting on that, though, against this defense versus Kirk Cousins, who's having one of those better seasons so far this year. So even though they'll probably go without Dalvin Cook, I feel safe in laying the 7 points.
Is Kirk Cousins going to line up under center?
I was about to say, where is he?
Well, he might line up under guard either way. I don't think it's going to matter versus the Lions as much.
I think the Lions are going to hang around. They've been in every game, almost every game this year. They play hard, they play tough, they play physical. And we got a lucky cover if you had the Lions last week because they could have run it in at the end of the game. They decided to take the knee and kick the field goal. But they were winning a lot of the time in that game. I thought they played well. They're playing much better. And the Vikings are playing consecutive road games, and that's always a concern. And Kirk Cousins, what was I thinking last week? Seriously, what was I thinking? I deserved it. I had the Vikings, and I loved the Vikings last week. And I'm sitting there, I'm watching it. They go down the field. They're winning 14-7. This is good. And then he turned into Kirk Cousins. I mean, he was awful.
You mean Kirk Cousins turned into Kirk Cousins?
Yeah.
Surprise.
Would you give the 49ers some credit, though?
Oh, they're good. They're getting better.
They're one of the hottest teams right now in the NFL.
But
they're
Kirk Cousins did not play well.
No, he'll play well in this one.
Well, we'll see. Well, because you're right, it's not a big game. You might be right.
Well,
but I'll take the Lions anyway.
Okay. All right. You're going to go with the Lions.
Yes, I am.
All right. Let's go on to the next one. Got Eagles and Jets there. Jalen Hurts, he's dealing with an ankle injury, so his status a little bit up in the air there. The Eagles favored by 6.5. The total here is 45. Brady.
Look, I just don't have much faith in the Jets right now, so I'm laying the 6.5 points here with the Eagles. That being said, Zach Wilson showed me something last week. He didn't get off to a great start, threw probably one of the worst interceptions we've seen this season, but he fought back. He looked good at the end of the day. Their defense is starting to come around a little bit. I think they realized, too, the formula for their success is running the football 30-plus times a game, if not more. Like, take some of this off of Zach Wilson's shoulders, regardless of what position you put him in. I don't care. Run the football, shorten the game. Don't ask him to do quite as much, and let that rushing attack and hopefully your defense keep you in some of these football games. I think they can do that in this one, especially if Jalen Hurts doesn't play. My best play, though, is the under. With not knowing right now whether or not Jalen Hurts will play for the Eagles, I'm a little hesitant on the 6.5. So I think the under is the better play here. But if I had to lay the points, it'd be the 6.5 with Philly.
The way he played last week, you might want him to play. He was bad last week. And the offense looked totally out of sync the entire day.
He started to kind of fall by the wayside.
Yeah,
I think
it was bad. It was bad last week. And I think the Jets are going to hang around in this game. I really do. I think defensively they have some young players that at times they look like Quincy Williams' brother and Quinn Williams, both those guys. They're both good players, and they're fast. They need to play fast, and I think they'll limit the Eagles' offense. I don't think they'll win the game, the Jets, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did. I just don't know how good the Eagles really are.
I'm concerned I'm picking a lot of home favorites this week. That usually doesn't end up working out well in the NFL, especially this week. Can you look at the weather report in New York? Because that could be another equalizer with how this ends up playing out.
So, but you got a road favorite.
Or excuse me, road favorite. I picked a lot of road favorites today.
Yeah, that's scary.
That's not
no,
good.
you don't.
Not
that's not usually what you want to do.
No.
I was waiting for another weather report there from meteorologist Pete.
I'll find it. I'll get to it. And I get my thing. Hey, look, it's going to rain today.
What did you think of Zach Wilson that last game?
Better and progress, and that's what you need to see from him. And he needs to play. You know, all these people are talking, well, should he go back in? Of course he should go back in. He's your future.
It was looking like his knee was bothering him. He gets a little banged up there. I mean, that's the concern. I said this coming in when you drafted him. He's not big.
Little.
And if you take away that mobility from him, now he's hampered by a potentially
tiny,
injury.
a word you like to use.
Well, sure. But if you take away that knee and that mobility from him, now he can't, he's going to absorb a lot of those hits. That's not a good recipe for him.
He also doesn't see very well in the middle of the field.
He's short.
He's little. He's really little.
Tiny.
Tiny is the word there. All right, recapping their picks between Brady and Pete. Let's see what we got here. They both like the over and the Chargers with the Bengals there, so maybe you feel comfortable in that one. I'm trying to see if there's any other disagreement there. Agreement. Pretty much one.
But I would like the under in the Jets-Eagles game.
I said the Colts. Said the Colts. That's the only other one you guys agree on.
Yeah, and I would
there.
like the under in the Jets-Eagles game. I'm
okay. All right, we're going to go with those three then as our locks-ish. Coming up next, locks-ish. AFC North battle. We get the Ravens at the Steelers. Now, earlier this week, Brady said the Steelers season is pretty much done. We'll see what Pete has to say about that. Come back in, getting ready for Week 13 here, taking a look at the late afternoon games we've got coming up this Sunday, Week 13. You got the Ravens at the Steelers there. Of course, the Steelers coming off their loss to the Bengals. TJ Watt likely out for this game. He is now on the COVID list. 49ers improving. They've won 3 in a row. So have the Washington football team. All right, welcome back. Pete Prisco, Brady Quinn, Amanda Guerra here with you. Let's go. Ravens at Steelers here. Brady, I mentioned what you said earlier in the week. You're a little worried about the Steelers season after that loss here. So, Pete, we'll start with you also. As we mentioned, TJ Watt likely out for this weekend as well.
And that would be a big hit to their defense. There's no question about that. And they've had a bunch of them in recent weeks. I mean, they've had guys out with injuries, guys with the COVID and everything else. So
with the COVID?
With the COVID.
With the COVID situation, yeah. Oh, I had the COVID.
You had the COVID. Yeah.
I had the COVID, so I know what that's like. So I understand they're fighting through a bunch of stuff, but the Ravens haven't looked good either. And the Ravens haven't won a game in impressive fashion since October 17th. They've struggled on offense. Lamar Jackson hasn't looked good. They're squeaking out games against teams they should handle. And I just don't think that they're in a rhythm on offense. And so for that reason, dare I say it, I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm not going to need the points.
Wow.
I'm going to win the game outright.
Okay. I mean, here's the hard thing for me buying into the Steelers. And even though the betting lines would be to your favor when they are an underdog, in particular at home, I hate what I've seen from their defense. I don't, and especially if they don't have their best defensive player. I remember playing against them, the Pittsburgh, the Baltimore Ravens, like back in the day, and they had players that literally you had to game plan specifically for, you had to worry about. If Watt doesn't play in this game, there's not really that guy on this defense right now that overly concerns you like they used to. Like, they just don't have that level of play anymore. And it's, in particular, when you look at the past couple of weeks, and especially what Cincinnati did to them. So, look, the Ravens aren't that. They're not that passing attack. And Lamar has struggled throwing the football. That's one of the things that I think we've seen over the course of Greg Roman, even as a play caller. That second half of the season, he just struggles to be able to find that rhythm you're talking about. Whether it's Lamar, Greg Roman, whatever the case may be, there's definitely some issues there. But this is the defense, the way the Steelers are playing right now, to get it going again. So I'm going to go ahead and lay the 3.5 points. I don't feel overly great about it. I do think you're going to see a fair amount of scoring on both sides. So to me, this is another one where the over is the better play at 44. Unless we see a snowstorm in early December in Pittsburgh, I think you're going to see a lot of scoring in this one.
I hate quarterback wins as a stat.
It's a team stat.
It is.
It's always been a team stat.
But when it comes to the guy in second place, you can use that one, though, because he's the greatest passer of all time.
In all seriousness, though, if you look at the Steelers' offense, Big Ben, I think he's kind of struggled to be able to find consistency.
Against the Chargers, he was fine.
The offensive line's not playing great.
No,
they don't have a consistent running game.
Yeah.
To me, the biggest issue is the play calling. I
don't like the play calling.
You could put it squarely on Matt Canada.
I agree.
They need to reevaluate that this offseason.
I agree. But you buried the Steelers? Is that right?
Yeah, they're done.
Is that what Amanda said? You buried the Steelers?
Their season's done.
They're done. They're over. They're finished. No
They're
playoffs,
done.
no wild card, no pushing for anything.
Done. Look at their schedule the rest of the way.
That's an early bury.
Look at their schedule the rest of the way.
Early bury. Steeler fans, Brady Quinn. There you go.
Thanks for that, Pete.
Look at the schedule the rest of the way. I'm just saying.
Hey, when I bury somebody, I stand up to them.
I get it. All right, speaking of teams that are done, the Seahawks virtually zero chance. They have a 1% chance of making the playoffs right now. Not looking good for them. You mentioned the 49ers are looking a lot better. They're not going to have Deebo Samuel or Fred Warner for this game. They're favored by 2.5 on the road. The total here, 46 and a hook. Pete, go first.
This one scares me a little bit. It really does. A division game, prideful team in front of their home fans. Russell Wilson hasn't been playing well. They're going to get the ball to DK Metcalf because you keep hearing that. They didn't do it Monday night. It scares me a little bit. The problem is I think San Francisco's running game is so good right now. They've gone over 150 yards or 160 yards in 3 straight games. They're just running through everybody, and they'll run through Seattle. They'll keep Russell Wilson on the sideline. I'm going to take San Francisco. I don't love this game, I'll be honest about it, but if I'm going to take one of the two teams, I'm taking San Francisco. And by the way, Seattle is buried. They are buried. And we have to start asking the question, is Pete Carroll coming back? Is Russell Wilson coming back? I mean, Pete Carroll should have called USC. Might have got $10 million.
One thing we know is Russell Wilson hasn't been the same throwing the football since the finger injury. He just hasn't. The accuracy is not there. He's not spinning it quite as well. You don't see the zip on the ball. This past week, it looked a little better, the completion percentage, but that was a byproduct of that last drive in particular, just dinking it down to DJ Dallas the whole time to then drive down the field. And then the last throw, that's about as wide open as it gets in the NFL. And even that wasn't the best ball. So, the truth of the matter is it's going to take him a while to adjust to what is a new feeling with the way he grips the football, throws the football. And this is a tougher defense to go up against or similar, I would say, to what he saw maybe last week. Probably better, though, in the secondary. And like you said, the San Francisco 49ers are going to run all over the Seattle Seahawks. Ken Norton Jr. has not gotten enough of criticism for the lack of success this defense has in trying to get back to that Legion of Boom. I mean, at some point you have to start looking at the scheme and some of the coaching because you can't keep blaming Russell. You can't keep blaming Pete Carroll or whatever else you want to throw it on. Their defense has never gotten even close back to what they were in 2013,
Where's
2014.
the talent on the defense? Bobby Wagner's up in the years.
Were we not saying that, though, about the initial players that were drafted and put in place in Seattle?
Correct. Start looking higher up then. Maybe John Schneider needs to take some criticism because they haven't replaced guys.
All parties do.
They haven't replaced guys.
No.
I mean, when you look at the defense, is there a difference maker on that defense? Bobby Wagner used to be, but he's not anymore. He's slowed down a little bit. The one thing that used to have a calling card for that defense is those linebackers could run and cover a ton of ground. They don't do that anymore.
And that's going to be tough in this matchup where you've got the best tight end in the game in George Kittle, which everyone struggles to
You're
match
on the
up
Niners
against.
then.
I'm on the Niners as well. If this crept up to like 3.5, I think I might be off of it.
It's a little scary because it's a division game.
I think the better play is under. I think if I was going to play this, obviously lay the 2.5, but the under is a good play in this one too.
Between Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, who has a better chance of being gone next season?
Russell Wilson.
Well, he's already said he wants to get. I mean, you don't
earlier
float that
this
out
season,
there last offseason and not think that with the way this season's gone, maybe they don't part ways.
I did forget that happened at the beginning of last season. Yeah. That did happen. All right, Washington football team at the Raiders there. Washington has won 3 in a row. The Raiders coming off that overtime Thanksgiving Day win against the Cowboys here. The Raiders are favored by 2.5 at home. The total here is 49, Brady.
I like the Raiders. I'll lay the 2.5 points here. A little extra time, too, to rest. Washington's coming off a short week. That plays a little bit of a factor in this one. But I also think, look, Derek Carr's carried this team. And this Washington football team, as you saw at the end of that game, and even though Russell struggled throughout the course to throw the football effectively, their secondary has been awful this year.
The last 3 weeks it hasn't been.
It has. It's still not in the top half of the league unless you want to put it in that direction.
No.
So I think Derek Carr will have his opportunity to put up some points in this one, enough to at least cover the 2.5 point spread there. I do think there'll be some scoring in this one, especially the way Antonio Gibson's going off. So Washington running the football. Las Vegas throwing the football, a lot of points, over, Raiders laying the 2.5.
I didn't put the over down, but I'm in agreement with you on that one. And so we're in agreement on this. It's lock unity, Raiders and the over, because I think we're both probably going rotten on that one then, if we both agree. I think the Raiders are going to throw the football around here. And Derek Carr played well at Dallas. I mean, he really did. He stood in there and made all the throws. And remember, where's the speed going to come from? Well, Deshaun Jackson. There you go. You have speed now. And so I think that they're going to score points. But Taylor Heineke's playing good football, and they're going to score points too because the Raiders' defense isn't very good. So I like the over, but I'll take the Raiders minus the points.
Regardless, Taylor Heineke, a great story there. All right, we have Jags at Rams. Rams a big home favorite in this one. They're favored by 13 here. The total is 48. They have lost 3 in a row. What's your concern level with the Rams right now and Matt Stafford?
The offensive line, and they have to run the ball. That offense is predicated on running the ball. They can't run the ball. And if you don't run the ball, you're not going to win successfully with that offensive style. So everybody wants to point the finger at Matt Stafford. He hadn't played very well. And by the way, enough with the injuries. The reports come out. If you're on the field, you're accountable. Go play. You're accountable. He's not playing well. He didn't play well against the Packers, but they have to run the ball. Well, they have the perfect team coming to say hello. The Jaguars are a young team that hates going to the West. It's a long trip. They never play well on the West Coast, playing against a team that is stewing after 3 weeks, waiting for him sitting there. This is going to be such a blowout. It will be unbelievably bad to watch this game because Jacksonville's not a good team. They don't score on offense. The Rams will score. And here's the other thing. Urban Meyer was asked this week, hey, Urban, what do you need to do to mesh your offense better to Trevor Lawrence's skill set? And he looked at him and he went, good question. I don't know that. You're the head coach of an NFL team. You don't know that? That's the problem.
Well, the problem is it's not his offense. It's
not his team,
it's Brian
Brady.
Schottenheimer, it's Darrell Bevel. That's part of this. And he's a first-time head coach in the NFL. He'll learn his way through this. They'll learn a lot after the first year. And then they need to make those strides in year 2. But that's for the offseason to talk about. I'm worried for Trevor Lawrence in this game because I do think Aaron Donald and that defensive front for the Rams are going to absolutely get after him. I mean, if they don't have 7-man protections, then even that might not be enough. They might need to move the pocket, a lot of misdirection, try to slow down that rush because I just think it's an unfavorable matchup across the board with the Rams. You said it. They're stewing right now. The other thing is I think Matt Stafford's probably hearing a lot of people chirping about what he has or hasn't been or what he hasn't brought to that team. This is the defense to go up against to take some big chunks, make some big plays. Odell Beckham got off to a slow start last week in the first half, picked it up there in the second half. I think he's going to lay a big number, and this is where the Rams start to get on a roll here. 13 points is a lot. The Rams are at home, though. They're stewing. They're ready for it, and I'm with you. Run the football. I know you got the shiny new toy of Matt Stafford that Sean McVay wants to get out there and just air everything out. Get back to your roots. Outside zone running scheme. Base things off of that. Allow Stafford then to be successful off of that. Don't put him in a bad spot like they have this year. But this is where they get back on track.
The right guard in Jacksonville, Ben Bartch, he's a young player, second-year player. Last week he had all kinds of problems with Grady Jarrett. You don't think they're going to put Aaron Donald right over him?
Oh, and this is what they do, right? They create what's called a bear or a solid front, meaning they're going to cover up the center and both guards, and they'll do it in any variation of ways, whether it's defensive linemen or linebackers, and that creates those one-on-one matchups. The Rams love doing that because it takes the offense's ability to then provide help to whatever offensive lineman's going on Aaron Donald. Trust me, watch this game. You'll see it the entire time, and you'll see Aaron Donald have a big game.
Over, under on sacks?
For him?
Yeah.
Or just for the team?
Him.
I'll put it at 1.5, and I'll take the over.
I'll take the over, too.
Back to the run game, Darrell Henderson has a quad injury, so we're still monitoring him throughout the week. If we're going more with Sony Michel, are you still as confident in that run game?
I'm not as confident in the run game. They need the run.
They need
the run. And up until last week, by the way, Jacksonville had actually been pretty good against the run. Yeah. They struggled last week. Patterson ran right through them.
All right, recapping the picks, there are a lot more agreement in this one.
Yeah,
They both like, okay, let me even double check here. We both like the Raiders, 49ers and Rams to cover. I'm always it's such small wording on this. It's not good for my little old eyes here. Pete, however, likes the Steelers to win outright. Brady likes the over in that game. All right, still to come, the final batch of games, including the Patriots at the Bills. The Patriots on a 6-game winning streak, and the Bills in that. We'll ask Pete and Brady about that next. Welcome back. Brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook here on CBS Sports HQ. Primetime games we got coming up in Week 13. Broncos at Chiefs. And then, oh, what a good one. Patriots at Bills. Patriots, they started 2-4 this season. They have now won 6 straight. Where do you rank them when it comes to the AFC? But let's start with the Broncos at Chiefs. There we got the Chiefs coming off their bye. They have won 11 straight against the Broncos. They are favored by 10 in this one. The total's 47, Brady.
Is anyone better than Andy Reid, too, off a bye?
Do we have a song about that? Will Brinson did.
Brinson does.
Yeah.
I mean, he is about as good as it gets, and they will win this game. But 10 points for a divisional matchup with a Broncos team that looked pretty darn good last week. The defense stepped up. Teddy Bridgewater's making some plays. They're getting back to running the football effectively. I wonder if there's a little bit of, I don't want to say like rust, but the Chiefs are playing great into the bye, or at least I should say better. And I do wonder if they're going to kind of have a hard time getting going again versus a familiar opponent that's playing well right now. So, look, the Chiefs win, all right? The Chiefs are going to win this game. I think the Broncos end up staying within that number when it's all said and done.
This was a tough game for me to pick for the very reasons you just described. Watching the Broncos last week, they matched up and played well in the secondary. Question is, do they match up and play well this week? That's a tough group to match up against. And so, I for that reason, it scares me a little bit, which is why I did take the Chiefs. And the Chiefs' defense is playing better. The Broncos' offense isn't very good.
No.
It's just, for all the weapons they have on the outside, they're not very good.
There's a lot of heat building there in Denver about Pat Shermer, just the play calling and how he's getting some of those playmakers. You're talking about the football.
And rightfully so. I mean, Jerry Jeudy doesn't get the ball enough. Get him the ball. And so for that reason, I'm taking the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs' defense, when you look at it, moving Jones back in, we talked about that. You know, guys, Ingram and Frank Clark's playing better, and guys are playing much better. You know, in the secondary, Snead's playing way better than he played early in the year. So for that reason, I'm going to take the Chiefs minus
Denver's
points.
played them kind of close. You know, Vic Fangio's had a good game plan for slowing down this Chiefs offense. And that's where I feel like if they can run the ball, which the Chiefs have been susceptible to that this year, slow the Chiefs down enough, still kind of get back to frustrating Patrick Mahomes like we saw in the beginning of the season. Maybe that's where they hang around.
New Patrick Mahomes. He's patient now, Brady. Yeah. He takes what they give him.
I'm saying they win. I'm just saying I think that's a lot of points.
It is a lot of points, and I had a hard time with that game. I almost took Denver. That tells you what I think about the game.
All right, let's go to the next one there. Patriots at Bills. As I mentioned, just such a turnaround for the Patriots here from the beginning of the season. 6-game winning streak, the longest active winning streak right now in the NFL. The Bills are favored in this one by 3. The total is 44. Pete, we'll start with you.
Yeah, and the Patriots, look, Bill Belichick's the greatest coach in the history of the National Football League, bar none. He really is. And what he's done with this team is amazing. He's taken a group of guys. Remember, they had opt-outs and they signed a bunch of free agents, and he's taken them all together and he's meshed them into a unit, particularly on defense, that's really good. And they do so many different things. And they're so complicated at times and so simple at times. They're just smart, they're tough, and those guys know how to play football. But having said all that about the Patriots, I'm taking Buffalo here. And I just think Josh Allen got his mojo back a little bit on Thanksgiving against the Saints. He looked like Josh Allen again. And they looked like the Buffalo Bills again. They were throwing it around. They were creative. They got away from some of the things that they normally did. He was much more patient, Brady. He didn't have to go for the kill shot. Much like Patrick Mahomes, he has to learn how to do that. And he's learning how to do it. And so against the Patriots, you have to really be patient. And I think he will be. And I'm not sure. Look, Mac Jones numbers-wise, had a really good game last week. He had 2 interceptions dropped. He didn't play that well in terms of, putting the ball down the field at all. I worry about him a little bit in this game.
They don't put the ball down the field. I mean, that's the reality.
Eventually you're going to have to.
They're going to have to, but they need that player. I don't know if they have that player on the roster. Maybe Kendrick Bourne, but to your credit, the box score looked different than the actual tape. Did you go back and watch them? That being said, he's been phenomenal for a rookie.
Oh, great. And I'm not taking anything away from him.
And I think he'll be good in this one. I do think he'll be under a little bit more duress, depending on whether or not they can run the football effectively. I'm more curious about the other matchup, though. This Patriots defense has been as good as anyone at getting turnovers, especially the last few weeks. And I do wonder if Josh Allen can take care of the football well enough to be able to, outright win it. Something tells me like it's a low-scoring game. I think the under I like better so much than the 3 points because I was pretty undecided coming into this one. I wanted to maybe ride the momentum of the Patriots, but I need to see them win this one before I'm totally buying in. Danny Cannell and I have this conversation every Monday. He always asks me, are you buying in yet? Are you buying in yet? And I keep kind of waiting for that point in their schedule. This is that game. If they win this one on the road versus Buffalo, I'm all in on the Patriots.
Me too.
And I'm all in on them kind of moving forward as probably that next team to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC.
Agreed.
But I still need to see it to believe it.
I agree. If they win this game, well, I'm a believer.
So I'm laying the 3 points.
Thank you. Less than 30 seconds. Best team in the AFC
Chiefs.
right now.
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Still
will
Kansas
win.
Kansas City.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But if they win,
Nobody
we're
wants
gonna
to
be
play
a
the Chiefs. Nobody.
Recapping these particular picks there, they both think the Chiefs are going to win, but Brady likes the Broncos to cover. Pete said, look, I had a tough time with that one.
I did.
I had a tough time. Do you want to change it?
Nope.
Nope. You're going to go with it? Okay. Patriots at Bills. They both like the Bills to cover the 3, meaning the Patriots win streak will come to an end there. Pete Prisco, Brady Quinn, Amanda Guerra, much more HQ coming up next. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.